Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful flare skirt with a drawstring design. It is very easy to make and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you'd like to know more about, keep on watching and let's get started. So I'll be making use of this beautiful crepe fabric. To start with, I'll be making some calculations for my skirts. So I'll start by getting the radius of my skirts. To get the radius of our skirts, you're going to divide the waist circumference by 3.14. In this case, the waist circumference I'm working with is 37 inches. Then I'm going to add 2 inches zipper allowance to this. So that will be 39 inches in total. So now my radius will be 39 divided by 3.14. So my answer is 12.5 inches. So the radius of my skirt is 12.5 inches. And the length of my skirt is 35 inches. So skirt length is equals to 35 inches. And I'm going to add 1 inch hemming allowance to this. So that will be 36 inches. So the length of my skirt is 36 inches. Now to know what to fold on fabric to avoid wastage, I'm going to add the skirt length to the radius of my skirt. So to fold, you're going to add 36 inches plus 12.5 inches. So when I did that, I have 48.5 inches. So what I'm going to fold now on my fabric will be 48.5 inches because I'm going to be cutting front and back together. So I'm going to bring in my fabric and I'll place my tape measure from the starting point. I'm going to measure 48.5 inches. So I can just make that 49 inches or 50 inches. Then I'll now fold it over like so. I'm going to place it on fold. So what I have on fold, from the folded edge here to the other end is about 50 inches because I added extra inches to that. Then I'm going to fold it again like in a bias form. So from the folded edge, I'm going to place it over like this, like in a triangle. So I'm placing the folded edge like a triangle over to the open edge, like so. When folding, make sure you don't fold it completely over to the open edge. Make sure you place your folded edge at the point where your zipper allowance is starting from. So you place the fold at the starting point. That means you are going to leave about 1 inch allowance from the open edge there before placing the fold. So I'm just going to use my pins to hold this down very well because the fabric is not easy to work with. I'll make sure I leave the space for my 1 inch zipper allowance before pinning down my fabric. So this is it after arranging. Now I'll start by placing my radius. Remember the radius of my skirt is 12.5. So from the tip of my fabric, I'm going to place the radius, which is 12.5. I'm going to rotate it all around 12.5. Then I'll join that with my curve. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to place the length of my skirts. The length of my skirts plus the hemming allowance is 36 inches. So now I'm going to place 36 inches as the length of my skirts. But when placing the length of the skirts, I'm going to be having a 2 inches band for my skirts. So I'm going to place the 2 inches on the radius line like so. Then I will keep rotating the length of my skirt, which is 36 inches. This means that I've deducted 2 inches from the length of my skirts, which will serve as my band height. So I'll keep rotating my tape and I'll mark 36 inches as the length of my skirts. Then I'll connect the dotted lines with my curve. Now I'm going to cut out. I'm going to cut the length of the skirts. Then I'll cut the radius also. When cutting the radius, I won't cut directly on the line. I'm going to come up 1/2 inch above the radius line. The 1/2 inch is the allowance to join to the waistband. Now I'm going to open up my skirt. Then I'm going to notch it at the midpoint. I want to get the midpoint of the waistline. So I'm going to notch with my scissors. I'll notch at the midpoint. Now I'm going to mark for my drawstring. To mark for the drawstring, I'll have to turn the skirt to the right side. I'll be making my markings on the right side of the skirt. So I turn it to the right side and I placed it on fold. So now this is the point where you will determine the side which you want your drawstring to be. It can be either on the right side or on the left side. You can choose whatever side you want it to be. So from the folded edge, I marked half of my bust pan measurements, that is half of my nipple to nipple measurements, which is 4.5 inches. Make sure you use your pins to hold them down properly so that it won't be shifting all around. So from that point, I'll measure the length of my drawstring. For mine, I marked 14 inches from the waistline. The length of my drawstring will be 14 inches. So from the waistline, I'll draw a straight line vertically downward to meet the 14 inches mark, which is the length of my drawstring. So this is it. This is where I'm going to fix my drawstring. Then I also went ahead to cut a strip of fabric that I'm going to use for the casing. The width is about 3 inches and the length is about 15 inches. Then I folded it into two and I ironed it to get the crease line, like to get the center line. Now I'm going to open up my skirt and I'll place the drawstring casing on it, making sure the center line of the drawstring is directly on the chalked line. I'm going to use my pins to hold them down properly, making sure the center line of the drawstring and the chalked line is at the same point. Before stitching it down to the fabric, I'll make sure I stitch one end of the drawstring like this. I'll fold it in 1/2 inch twice at one end and I will stitch it. Then I'll place it back on the fabric. I'm going to pin it down to my fabric like so. Then I'll stitch the center line. Then I'll also fold it in on both sides and I'll stitch the edges down. So I've made my stitches. So the center stitch made me have 2 holes that my drawstrings are going to pass through. So I've also gone ahead to make my strap. So the length of the strap is about 28 inches. That is just like ×2 of the drawstring casing. My drawstring casing is 14 inches. So I cut ×2 of that. So I have about 28 inches. So I'm going to attach my pin to the strap and I'm going to pass it through the casing, starting from the down part. I'm going to pass that and I'm going to bring it out at the waistline. So this is it. This is what I have. I'm just going to use my pin to hold that down at the waistline so that it's not going to come out. Then I'll repeat the same process to the second side of the casing. I'm going to pass my strap in between the second casing. I'm just going to pin this down at the waistline and I'll just run a stitch on it to hold it in place. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to fix my waistband. To cut out my waistband, I'm going to measure around what I have on the waistline, including the zipper allowance. When I did that, I have 39 inches for mine. This means that the width of my band also will be 39 inches. So I've gone ahead to cut out my band. The height of my band is 5 inches and the width is 39 inches. Then I also iron interfacing to half of my band and I also fold in one end of the band. Now I'm going to get the midpoint of my band. I'm just going to fold it over like so and I'll notch the midpoint. Then I'm going to place my band right side of my band facing the wrong side of the band. The side where I did not have the interfacing will be the side I'm going to place on the wrong side of my skirt. So I'm going to place it and make sure I match it at the midpoint. So I'll pin the center of my band to the center of my skirt. So from the center there, I'm going to stitch all the way to the end. I'll stitch the band to my skirt with 1/2 inch allowance. So this is it after stitching one side of the band to the skirt. Now I'll fold the other end like so. I'll fold it to cover the rough edges there. Then I'm going to stitch that down to the skirt. I'm going to stitch that, make a top stitch there all the way to the end. So this is it after fixing my band to the skirt. Next thing I'm going to do is to fix my zipper. So I placed my skirts on fold like this, right side facing each other. So make sure you use your pins to hold them down properly. So from the waistline, I'm going to measure where I want my zipper to stop. From the waistline, I'll come down by 8 inches for my zipper. So I'm going to mark 8 inches there. That is where my zipper is going to stop. So from that point, I'm going to stitch with 1 inch all the way to the hem of the skirt. I'm going to stitch with 1 inch zipper allowance, after which I'm going to hem the down part of my skirt 1/2 inch twice, and I'll also fix my zipper. This is the final outcome of my skirt. You can see the skirt is very easy to make and it's beautiful. So I paired my skirt with this beautiful cow neck top. If you like to see a video on how I made the cow neck top, you can drop a comment in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.